All right, so let's say that you've got your investment banking job offer in hand. You have the contract in front of you, and you've made it this far in the process. What do you do now? Well, it's usually a pretty simple process at this point. There's usually not too much to think about. You sign the offer, and congratulations, you just got your investment banking job. But what happens when you have multiple offers? Well, we're going to talk about this scenario here today on Investment Banking Insights. All right. Welcome to Investment Banking Insights. This is the only show dedicated to helping you learn both the technical and non-technical aspects of the investment banking process. Hello, my name is Alex Mason, and I am your host. I'm a second-year MBA student at Cornell, and just wrapped up the semester, just doing some traveling, hanging out with family and friends here during this holiday break, this much-needed holiday break. And getting ready for 2025. But before 2025 comes, I wanted to talk to you about the situation, which is becoming more pertinent, especially if you're in the associate level recruiting process right now, of evaluating multiple offers. Now, this won't apply to everyone. Usually, if you get the offer from your first firm, that's pretty much it. Usually, people are kind of worn down by the recruiting process by this point. They just want it to be over, and they're pretty satisfied with the offer that they receive. And so it's pretty much a no-brainer. They just accept it either on the spot or maybe within a day or two. They sign their offer letter and that's it. But there are scenarios where you have multiple offers, or you have one offer and you're pretty sure you're going to get another offer pretty soon that you think you might like equally or better than the one that you just got. And I've seen this scenario play out with candidates during this recruiting season, as well as during the last recruiting season that I was part of. And so let's talk about how to handle that. So there's a series of questions that I would ask if you're in this position where either you have two or more offers on the table right now, or you're pretty sure you're going to have to decide between two or more offers in the near future. One of those questions is, does this specific company, does this job, this internship, does it meet my short-term goals? And what do I mean by that? I mean, well, first of all, are they paying you appropriately? Are they paying market rate or above? If not, are you okay with that because of other factors? So pay is definitely one of the things that I think is important to look at. I mean, hey, this is investment banking after all. You should be getting paid. Number two is location. Is this a job in a city that you want to be in for the short term? Do you want to work in New York City this summer? Do you want to work in London this summer? Do you want to work in Chicago this summer? Do you want to work at some other location, maybe in places outside of the US? So that could be a factor for you. Maybe there's something there that you're really interested in. Another thing is prestige. Some candidates really care about the prestige associated with working at a certain bank, or even within a specific group at a certain bank. For example, like Houlihan Lokey is really known for their restructuring group, for example. And if you are a hardcore restructuring person, maybe you want to go to that firm. That's just an example, but there are other examples like that. So does this job, does this specific internship opportunity, does it meet your short-term goals in terms of pay, location, prestige, other kinds of things that you may care about? And maybe you don't really care about much of those things. Maybe you just really want to work with interesting people. But usually people care about those factors and maybe a couple other factors as well. So that's the first question I would ask myself. The second question I would ask myself when evaluating multiple opportunities is, does this job meaningfully move me toward my longer term goals? And you may not exactly know the details of your longer term goals, but you should have some idea of what you're moving toward. Maybe you want to stay in banking, move your way up to VP, director, managing director one day. Maybe you want to pivot to private equity at some point. Maybe you want to do corporate development long term. Whatever the case may be, think about your long-term goals. And these are some factors that I would consider when considering each particular company, each particular job opportunity. So what is the deal-making experience likely to be at this firm? Are you likely to work on one, two, maybe three bigger deals where you're part of a larger team and you're really focused on a specific piece of the deal? Maybe you'll get exposure to 5 or 6 deals that are smaller and maybe get more reps in. Maybe that's important to you. Another thing I would consider is your networking opportunities at that specific office. So are you going to be working in more of a satellite office for your firm? Are you going to be working at the headquarters? Are you going to be working in a group that is seeing a lot of growth right now, or you see long-term growth opportunities that will give you an opportunity to network within that specific industry or product group at the investment bank? Or are you working in another group that maybe doesn't give you as many of those opportunities? So think about that, especially if you're being hired into a specific group as opposed to a generalist program. So those are some things that you might want to think about. And also another thing that I thought of that I think is important for long-term prospects is the quality of your cohort. Who are the other interns that you're going to be working with during this next summer in each position? Do you feel like the quality of the intern pool is going to help grow you, or do you feel like that's not necessarily the case? And this comes down to people, right? Are you confident in the fact that the firm is also making offers to other highly qualified individuals that you could become friends with, that you could learn from and work with over a long period of time, develop those relationships? So ask yourself that long-term question in addition to the short-term question. The third thing that I would consider when evaluating multiple opportunities is kind of compare, do these firms align with my values and preferred work culture? Not every firm is the same. Every investment bank is going to be a little bit different. And so you just have to ask yourself, do I like working with these people more or less? Do I think that these people are going to like me more or less based on who I am? I certainly want to grow, but I also know that I have a certain personality, I have a certain work style. Is that going to fit in well with this organization? Or am I going to be fighting against the tide, so to speak, in this particular company or even in this particular group? And you should have gotten a pretty good sense at this point in the recruiting process. I mean, you're at the end at this point. You'd have a pretty good sense of what the people are like because you've talked to so many people at the firm through your coffee chats, first round interviews, super days. You should have met a lot of people and gotten a sense of what the people are going to be like. And what I think for me personally is this question is usually the tiebreaker, because the first two questions, short-term goals, long-term goals, I think more or less, you're going to see a lot of parity between firms in terms of opportunities, unless there's like some major disparity. But in terms of culture, work style, and who you think you're going to fit in well with, that tends to be, I think, a bigger differentiator. I think in some cases more than others, but that of course completely depends on your particular situation. So number one, consider the short-term benefits of each of these positions. Number two, consider the long-term potential benefits. And then number three, consider if this company's culture aligns with your values and priorities and your work style. So if you kind of consider these things, if one firm, if you were to rank them quantitatively from a scale of 1 being absolute worst, like, no, this doesn't meet my long-term goals at all, to 10, yes, the long-term opportunities here are incredibly bright. If you rank each of these three things at a 9 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10, to me, that's an absolute yes. Like, yes, you should go with this firm over another firm. If you are kind of in like the 6 or 7 range, it might be all right. But if you're not super excited about it, then you might want to consider other opportunities too. Another thing you want to consider here is the timing of the offer. There's these things called exploding offers, which it's kind of a little bit of a like scary term, but really just the offer has a time limit on it. So maybe a bank number one gives you an offer, you have 2 weeks to decide, but you think that you're going to have a super day within 3 weeks at another bank that you think you might like better. What you can do is, of course, request an extension. I think it's totally reasonable and professional to request an extension, particularly if you've gotten an offer earlier on in the recruiting season, and then try to extend that out. Another thing you can do is once you have the first offer in hand and you have it in writing, you can go to bank number 2 and ask them, hey, I actually have an offer at another bank already, but I really, really am interested in you guys. Is there any possibility we can move that super day interview date up? Because you're signaling to them like, hey, I am a candidate that's in high demand. I've already received an offer, but I haven't accepted it yet because I still value you guys and your firm, and I really want a chance to get an offer from you first because I think I might actually take it. So that's a way you can kind of navigate that scenario to buy yourself a little bit more time, right? Because once your timing kind of ends, that firm may give your offer to someone else, and then that's it. You don't really have much of another shot. So you have to be judicious with your timing as well in these kinds of scenarios. But the good news is, if you have multiple offers or you think you're going to receive multiple offers, you're in a great place. You have successfully completed the recruiting process, and now it's just a matter of time. Now it's just a matter of you kind of using your leverage to get the right situation for you. Like, this entire recruiting cycle has basically been about you playing by the bank's rules, right? They have certain interview questions that they're going to ask you. They have certain dates and schedules that you have to meet. You got to send your emails. But at this point, the situation kind of flips. Now they're trying to sell you on their bank because they like you. So think carefully about it. And again, remember short-term goals, long-term goals, values, and culture, and make the right decision for you. But those are some tips and guidance that I would give. That's what I got for you today here on Investment Banking Insights. My name is Alex Mason, and I am so grateful that you're here. I'll see you on the next one. Take care.